Welcome everybody to Mom Street USA. My name is Jackie, aka Wishes Mama, and joining me is my wonderful co-host Kate, aka the Disney Cicerone. And this is our first podcast episode of 2024, which is super exciting. And we've got a pretty fun topic for you all today. We are going to be talking about how to make your resolutions a little Disney themed, Disney-fy them a little bit, so to speak, and also talking about some bucket list items for visiting the Disney parks. So Kate, how's it going in 2024?
It's good. The year started off great so far, and I'm excited for everything that's to come. I spent like 2 hours booking all of my vacations,
Yay!
my work trips to Disney for the year. So I'm very excited to have a lot of those done. And it's really interesting because, I think that you and I have talked about this, that we wrestle a little bit with the idea of resolutions, and like everybody, I think statistically people drop their resolutions by like February 15th is when they stop doing them or stop working towards them.
Crazy.
So, I like the idea of this is like some of this, like it's resolutions, but it's also like bucket list items. It's kind of like thinking about things that you would love to do at Disney or integrating fun new Disney things into your life at home. So it's not just going to the parks, because we know not all of us can afford that right now, and we get that.
Right.
So I love that you kind of came up with this idea, and I thought it was so clever. And so do you want to kind of introduce us into our first topic?
Yeah, so basically what I've done, and Kate has contributed as well, is we've kind of taken some of the typical resolutions that maybe you hear people talk about. These are by no means an end-all be-all list of different resolutions that people have. These are just kind of themes that tend to be thrown around when you're looking at New Year's resolutions. And we put a Disney spin on them. So we're going to talk about several of these resolutions and how you can Disney-fy them. That's just like the term that I keep using for all of this. I think it's fun. So we're going to talk about all of those, and maybe something will apply to a goal that you've set or a resolution that you've set, if that's something that you like to do. And obviously, no shade or anything to people who don't set resolutions. There's lots of different ways you can go about the new year. That's totally fine.
Yeah, if you're feeling overwhelmed in general with life and you're like, I can't, this is like one more stress that I can't take, like that's okay. Like don't feel the pressure. This is pressure-free zone. This is all fun.
Yes. Yes.
This is like, how can you add a little bit more fun and magic into your goals, resolutions, and your year? So that's what we're doing.
Absolutely. So let's jump into the first one. I think this is probably one of those resolutions, goals, themes that we see the most frequently, I would say. And that is something along the lines of exercising more, getting in shape, losing weight if that's your goal, being healthier, any of those types of in that category. So a couple things to make that kind of a little bit more fun in Disney. Obviously, the big one we'll talk about first right off the bat is Run Disney. That exists for those of us or those of you who maybe enjoy us. I've done one Run Disney event in my life. It was a long time ago, but
I can walk fine. Disney. I walk. I do lots of walking.
That's true. So Run Disney events, for anybody who maybe is not familiar with them, are 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, marathons that are sanctioned by Disney on Disney property. They do take place in both Disney World and Disneyland. Disney World tends to have more often runs. I think they have more space to do them, where it's not like the same course over and over again. You've got less space kind of to do that in Disneyland. So Disney World tends to have more. But a couple of things that are actually coming up fairly soon, if that's something that you're like, I want to start my year off by doing it, props to you. There are a couple of virtual races, actually several virtual races that they have. So that is a really nice option. If you're like, I can't get to the parks to physically run in the parks, there are several virtual options that you can do. You still have to like pay the registration fee, but then they will like mail you your hardware, like your medal or whatever, which I think is super fun. I did one of these, like a series of these during the pandemic when everything was closed down. And it was super fun to get those medals in the mail. I was like, yay.
I would be like, I'd sign up for it and then I'd forget. And then I would be like, and then they'd send me a medal and then I'd have that guilt that I just didn't do it. So that's how that would go down. And that's why I haven't done it.
That's also fair. Completely valid. So if you're someone who's like, oh man, I really want to do this, like, and you're gung ho and you're ready to go, the virtual race for the Disney Princess Half Marathon is actually still, half marathon weekend is still available. So that, I just looked at my date that I wrote on here, and I wrote the 23rd through the 35th. That's not right.
35th. February 35th.
Yep, that's really wrong. But that Princess Half Marathon weekend is February 23rd through the 25th. So you can actually register for that on the Run Disney website. It is a separate website from like your typical Disney World website. If you do a quick Google for Run Disney, it'll pop right up if you're looking for it. So that registration is open now. And also the Springtime Surprise virtual race, which the Springtime Surprise takes place April 19th through the 21st. That is also available now. So there are 3 virtual races. I don't know.
Is there the surprises we don't know what the surprise is? Good, I don't know.
I never thought about the name until you just asked, so I got nothing.
The surprise is you'll get in shape or not, depending.
Surprises if you finish or not, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But anyway, all 3 of those virtual races are like registration is now open. Now the physical in-person races for those 3 weekends are no longer available to register for. So the thing about Run Disney, when you're not looking at the virtual side of things, recently especially, some of these races can be really tricky to get registered for because there is such a large portion of the run community that enjoys doing these Disney races. So,
well, and they all dress up. That's like the best part is that they have costume standards, so you have to be careful not to like go out of those. But like the costumes are my favorite part of this event. Yeah, everybody gets themed costumes. It's so great.
They're super fun. Absolutely. So there are a couple coming up that are in person that you have to register for. Again, I will warn you, it can be really tricky to register for them. So just like prepare yourself.
Be on your game.
Yeah.
In 2024.
And like have a backup plan. Like if you want to do the 10K, make sure you have like a backup plan of you want to do the 5K or the half, or you know what I mean? Like have a couple options would be my suggestion. But there is, I forgot a virtual one. Sorry, my bad. There is just a whole virtual race coming up for all of Run Disney 2 that is taking place June 1st through August 31st.
Like summertime. Race.
So that registration ends March 26th. So it's open now, but it's open all the way until March 26th. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know how frequently these virtual races sell out. I don't know if Disney caps it because they still provide the medals and everything. So I would assume there's a cap to them, but I will be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure what that is.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So if someone knows and can tell us, that'd be great. But if not, make sure you register sooner rather than later. Moral of the story. But there are a couple coming up in person. A new this year is Disneyland is doing a Halloween half marathon in September. So that is September 5th through the 8th. And their registration for that is on February 13th. So that is one that you have to be like on your computer on the 13th, ready to go right when it opens up. So that way you can get registered for that one.
I have a question from Rhonda. Is there any Walk Disney events? Like a serious one. I made a joke about it, but I think
the 5Ks are like walker friendly.
That's what I was going to say is like some of the ones that are lower, I think you can just walk and they're not going to be like, you're not running.
Yes.
You know, so
I believe that like the 5Ks and maybe even the 10Ks are a little more lenient if you have a quick walking pace. But there's nothing like specifically set for fast walking or walking through those that I know of.
Yeah. Margaret in our chat says you just have to be in front of the balloon lady. So you just can't go so slow that like you're behind the end of the race, so to speak. So.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely with that. And Disney Dad Bod over here is saying there's no cap to the virtual ones. So
good. Excellent.
Yeah, so there you go. And yeah, Taylor's saying the 5K is family and walker friendly. The rest you have to have a 16 minute per mile pace.
Excellent. See, we always know somebody's going to know that because I'm
Well,
not a
and they
runner.
give you some leniency in these races because there are characters along the way. So they give you some time because they anticipate that people are going to stop and have to wait in some lines to get character photos.
Yeah.
Because they actually pull out some really cool, unique characters for all of these. So
Yeah, sometimes you get to go kind of like behind the scenes too, and like
mhm.
the backstage areas that you run through. So that's
Yeah,
always really fun.
yeah, super, super fun. So that is the Disneyland Halloween Half Marathon. A standard one that we've had for years is the Disney Wine and Dine Half Marathon. That is October 31st through November 3rd. And I saw that date and I was like, on Halloween? The
Yeah.
parks are going to be so busy.
Gosh. Oh yeah, and the traffic's going to be bad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So be
The,
warned if you're
yeah.
going over Halloween. Be warned. But the
Anytime there's
registration,
anytime there is a Run Disney event too, even if you're not participating in the Run Disney event,
yeah,
know that the traffic is going to be bad. There's going to be roads that are probably blocked off, and there's going to be extra crowds in the parks as well for that time. So just keep that in account. So these dates are important, even if you're not participating in a Run Disney event.
right? Yes. And the registration for the Wine and Dine is March 12th. So that is one to keep in mind in your calendar if you're interested in that.
I didn't say what time these begin, did we? Did you look that up? I know it's
Like
early
the
morning.
registration, is that the
No,
question?
like the time, I think, for the races.
So most of the races, you have to be in your corral like within the 4 a.m. hour, and they all happen before park open.
Yeah.
So like you'll be like you run through the parks, but you're out of the parks by park open.
Yeah. So it's kind of a middle of the night kind of a thing. So
Yep.
yeah.
Waking up at 2, 3 a.m. to get there on time. Yeah. Yeah. It's a thing. It's a thing. It's
I would
part
just
of
stay
that.
up. I just wouldn't go to bed.
Yeah, you gotta make that decision, right? Like, do you stay up or do you attempt to get your body to go to bed early enough to make it worth it?
Yeah. I just don't do it. Problem solved. So, just kidding. I would probably do a virtual one if I could just walk it. I think that's
Yeah.
really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So then there's a whole set of virtual 12Ks that are coming up in December that are called the 12Ks of Christmas, which I think is really fun. So it's literally a whole set of them that happen throughout the month of December that you have to register by July 9th for that set. And then new this year, they did a coast to coast challenge, which I think is super fun. Now, they've done variations of this in the past, but this year in 2024, if you complete any 10-mile race or longer at both Disney World and Disneyland in the same calendar year, you will receive a Run Disney Coast to Coast Race Challenge medal.
Oh, that's cool. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. So there's lots of more details about that on the Run Disney website as far as like which races qualify. And like I said, it has to be 10 miles or more. So like they have some that are like 10 milers, so like you got to go and look at the details for that. And I do know that it's not like a separate like registration. It's like an automatic
Oh, that's neat.
thing that they like just give to you. So that is super fun with that one. So I think that's all of them. The website had a lot of like also 2025, and I kept writing down the wrong date. So I was like, wait, that's not 2024. So there are also
35th.
yeah. Listen, but there's also 2025 dates that have been released too. So if you know that you're not going to make it to the parks in 2024, but want to plan for 2025, those dates are all on like the homepage of Run Disney. So you can find them on there if you're looking for those dates.
That's awesome. It's a great time of year too. Like everybody's kind of, working off the holiday calories and getting in shape and whatnot and having those resolutions. So that's a fun one. I did add a couple of thoughts to the exercise more resolution, how you can make it more Disney-fied, as we're using that word. One is making a Disney playlist for a walk at home. So either if you're going on a treadmill, if you're at the gym, or if you're, walking around your neighborhood or wherever you're walking, making your own kind of Disney playlist that, matches your pace and whatnot. And then it's just a fun little extra way to have some music you love while you're doing that. And along those same lines, walk or run on a treadmill and you can watch Disney streamers or YouTube, depending on what you want to, day and who's around and all those kinds of things. But you can watch that, videos of the park. So it's kind of like you're walking or running through the parks as you're doing that. So that's just a little extra fun way of making a little extra Disney magic while you're getting your steps in. The other thing that I was actually looking up, and this is inspired, this has a backstory. I'm sorry.
Okay,
This
I'm
is
ready.
inspired by me scrolling TikTok at like 3 a.m. when I should be sleeping, like we all do sometimes. And there was, I don't know, some girls or something that were doing the some sort of dance like every day to like get fit. And it was one
I
of the like just
saw
dance. Did you see
that.
that? I for sure got myself off of the chair to do it with them and like nearly died by the end of it. But
That dance is hard.
it is hard. I did like a modified version because I'm old, but it was it was fun. And it's 3 a.m. Nobody saw me. But I was
Right.
like, gosh, this is such a great idea. So many people have posted those like if you don't own the game or anything, like they've posted the Just Dance on YouTube and there's a lot of Disney ones. So you can just search on YouTube for Disney Just Dance and just have fun dancing. And it's a fun one to do with your kids too.
Yeah.
And kids really love doing that one. So
Yeah. So
look to get it.
additional tangent. When I used to teach music, one of like we would do like fun Fridays on occasion, and I would take in like my old like the original Wii with the
Nice.
controllers. And on my board, we would do Just Dance. And I had two different Disney games that I would take because I knew that they would be like school appropriate for the kids to be able to do. And that was part of their Fun Fridays is we would like through the class, we would take turns doing the Wii and doing Just Dance. So it's great.
Fun.
It was super fun. And they loved it because like they got to do it on the big board in my classroom. It was good times.
No, I love that. That's great.
Yes. So that's a great one. I love that idea.
I know. I was like, they totally inspired it. It was not
Yeah.
my original idea, but I was like, hey, like this, I would totally do that just to get my body moving, especially when I sit all the time for work. So,
Yeah, and there are lots of other like Disney inspired like workout videos on YouTube, and there's Zumba or all of those kinds of things that are like all Disney themed. So just search on YouTube and you'll find what you're looking for, I'm sure.
Yeah, most of it's doesn't cost anything. So it's a nice one too for if you're budget conscious and you can't afford maybe some of these other things. So it's a good one.
Absolutely, yes. Okay, so I think that kind of in a nutshell is the exercise, lose weight, move your body, be healthy
Get fit.
type of type of resolution. So let's look at our second one that we have here. Again, these are just kind of the like standard traditional resolutions that we hear a lot of people talk about. And this one is travel more, which is kind of a given when you're thinking about Disney and making that kind of Disney related. But we added a couple things on here that maybe you didn't think about when you were thinking about traveling more. The first one, again, obvious, is visiting Epcot and World Showcase. There's so much that you can learn about other countries and other cultures and all that kind of stuff. So just a few things that I feel like are often overlooked in World Showcase. There are so many different like shows and videos and like movie kind of little shorts that you can go and see while you're in World Showcase. The American Adventure, which I was thinking as I was writing this, it was down for refurb for a while, but I think it's back open now.
I don't know, but it is really long. So just take that into account when you go to it. It's extremely long show. So it's a wonderful show and I 100% recommend it, but it's a very long show. So be committed. It's a great place to get out of the heat for a while and relax. And some people take a nap, but that's then you miss the education part of it.
Right.
So
that kind of defeats the purpose. Then you got to sit through it a second time to actually like
right.
get the information. Don't do that. There is the Canada Far and Wide video in the in the Canada Pavilion. My mouth was not having a good time with that right then. Sorry. In the France Pavilion, there is Impressions de France that you can go and see.
They like alternate that one with Beauty and the Beast
Yes.
along. So it's like one or the other. So you have to kind of like time it just right to get to it.
Yes, and all of these have like showtimes and information about showtimes that you can look up if that's what you want to do. All of the Kid Cot stations, if you've got kiddos that you're wanting to also have learned about other cultures and get maybe a little bit of information. It's not a ton, but a little bit of information about the different countries. They've got all those Kid Cot stations for the kiddos. The Reflections of China show video in the China pavilion. And then Kate, you added about something in the Japan pavilion. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. Before I launch into that, I will mention too, like, there's some displays in China of like some Imagineering stuff as well that's really cool in different countries around the world, so that they've worked in. So that's really fun to see. And then there's a history of, oh, I'm gonna get it wrong, kawaii, like the cute Japanese cute stuff. Like they have a little museum of that too that you can go and explore that. But something that I'm actually think I'm going to do for the first time ever this next trip to Disney is get a pearl in the Japanese pavilion. I've always seen it. I've seen it for years. I've just like never done it. So there's a place called Akoya Pearls inside the Mitsukoshi store. And so it's $18.95 per ticket. And you get a ticket and they kind of like call your number, I guess, and call your name. That's from what I've seen. And then they'll open a pearl or an oyster in front of you, and then they'll like find a pearl. And I guess every single oyster they have has a pearl in it, which is not true to nature. It's usually one in every like 10,000 oysters have a pearl, but they've kind of like, I was trying to figure out how they know that. Do they x-ray them? Like, how
I would think you would have to. You probably have to x-ray it, because how else would you know for sure that there's one inside?
Yeah, because they're literally cutting them open and like,
they're not pre-opened when you get like when you watch them do it.
Right. So I think it's a really fun one. It's for $18.95. That's a pretty cheap souvenir for Disney, you know. And then you can choose, the jewelry is a little bit more expensive if you want to have it mounted inside some piece of jewelry, or you can just take the pearl home and then that's your souvenir. So I thought that was a really interesting one, because there's a lot of, they have history that's posted in that area as well about the history of the women that would dive to get the pearls in Japan. So very, very interesting part of that culture that then you can learn in Japan. So
yeah, and that's true. Grace says they maybe like grow them there. Like,
yeah,
and
that's what Rhonda says. She said they insert a grain of sand, which the oyster then coats, and then up equals pearl. So that's how you get it. So that makes so much more sense than x-raying them. Thanks for that.
I know Allie Beth is over here volunteering to be the x-ray technician for the oysters in the Japan pavilion. So maybe they still need one. You never know.
That makes way more sense. But that's really fun. So
yes, and they have like some ones that are more rare than others and stuff. Like there's all sorts of different like colors and shades and stuff for those, I think, too.
Yeah, when I went to China, like the actual China, when I was a million years ago, and I went to like a pearl store, and then they showed us all the different kinds, and then my mom bought me like a black pearl, which is really cool. So, which now reminds me of Disney too. So yeah, it all comes full circle. Back to Disney.
Right. And the other spot that I had written down was and I'm sure it's not just Stav. I'm sure there's a different way to say it in the Norwegian language, but the Stav Church Gallery in Norway.
I always say stave, and that's probably not right either.
I don't know. I'm not sure. So apologies, but they've got that gallery of kind of different artifacts and things in the Norway pavilion as well. So lots of different places that you can go throughout. And we probably didn't, like Kate mentioned a couple others, we probably didn't even list all of the different little places that you can learn about the different countries in World Showcase.
Yeah, and I would say that church in Norway is like the big wooden structure that you see is the church, and a lot of people don't know you can go in there. Like it doesn't. There's no like obvious signs. Most people just walk right by it. So go in there, walk through it. There's lots of cool things there that you can see, and that church is like one of the oldest churches in Norway. That's why it's modeled after that. So there's a whole bunch more history than that. I won't get into it because we won't have time. So
very cool though.
So an idea that I had is a really simple one, and actually a really fun way to interact with the cast members is learning how to say hello and goodbye, or just one or the other, in each country, because they finally have the like cultural representatives back at Epcot, which, if you don't know what those are, is just people that come from the actual country and they come and work there. So they speak English too. That's kind of like they have to work there, but they also can speak their language. So you can ask them how to say hello and goodbye, which is also really fun for kids as well, I think, to hear that.
Yeah.
And then I also just one is trying foods from different cultures while walking around the world. Seems really obvious, especially at Epcot and with all the food festivals. But I really loved trying the school bread and the rice. It's not rice pudding. It's like rice something.
I think it's rice pudding.
Rice cream, I think is what it is.
I
rice
don't
pudding.
remember. I know what you're
It
talking
tastes like
about.
rice pudding. But it's in the Norway Pavilion. They have those two. And actually, I did a little comparison of them when I was live. And that was really fun to do, to try something that was kind of authentic to that culture ish, as you can get in America. Right. So that's a fun one.
Yeah, and it's fun when they do, the food booths too. There's so much food already in Epcot that is so like specific to each country that you're in. Then they had the food booths in too. It's very overwhelming, but picking out just a few that you maybe haven't tried before or that is new to you can be a super fun way to learn more about the palate of the country that you're visiting.
That's true. And the other thing that I did think of, if you want to travel the world without like traveling the world, at Disney, if you go to Animal Kingdom, in many of the ride queues there, they feature actual antiques from Imagineers who did like scouting research expeditions to those countries while they were learning how they wanted to design the attractions. So they came back with a lot of antiques that they put on display. I think one of the most prominent ones is Kali River Rapids and Expedition Everest come to mind as like
Yeah.
two of the places that have a lot of antiques in those queues. So if you only ever do single rider on Expedition Everest or like Lightning Lane, someday stay in the standby queue just so you can see those antiques, because
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Yeah.
If you like to see history and antiques and things.
Yeah, you started to talk about that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember the last time I stood in the standby queue for Everest because like my whole family doesn't really go on it. So like we usually
Right.
use single rider or lightning lane just to like make it quick. And now next time I go, I need to do that.
Yeah, I do too. It's been a long time. So, well, do you want to talk about the next thing in the travel resolution category?
Yes. So this one was one that I had fun kind of looking into. So I had heard about this, and this is Adventures by Disney. So if you didn't know, these are basically Disney-led excursions, so to speak, in lots of different places around the world. They're not all park related. Actually, very few of them are parks related. It's more just like travel, and it's sponsored by Disney. So they have, oh gosh, 7 different regions or different like options that you can choose from, and so many different places that you can go. Now, these are on the more pricey side because it's like all inclusive to an extent, where when you start to look at prices, it includes like certain meals and flights and transport and tickets to things and all of that. So keep that in mind if you're looking at these, because the price point is fairly high for some of these. But I mean, they've got locations in Africa, Egypt, Morocco, and South Africa, the Asia Pacific area. They do Australia, China, Japan, New Zealand. I mean, you name it, they do it basically when it comes to that. Even just North America ones, if you're looking for a guided tour of different regions of North America, they do Alaska, they do like in Arizona and Utah, the Canadian Rockies. They do some with Disneyland in Southern California. I didn't see any with Disney World, so I think just Disneyland are included in some of these. They do a Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island one, and then one in Wyoming, which I was like, that's super fun. Like, that's something that I would consider doing.
Really?
Yeah, because it's so different, and it's unlike anything that I've ever done. Like that, or like the like Arizona and Utah. I've lived in the like Midwest and Eastern, this side of the country for my whole life. And I've been to Arizona once, and that was it. So like,
My goodness. You need to come visit me.
I know.
I'll show you the West.
Yes.
It'll be great.
Yes.
I've been to all states except for 3. So, yeah.
Look at you.
And they're not, I've been to Alaska and I've been to Hawaii. So it's not those. It's like mostly the Northeast. So I got to get up there.
Yeah.
Got to go see Vermont and Maine and New Hampshire. One of these days. It's going to happen.
Well, unfortunately, Adventures by Disney does not go up there.
I will not be using Adventures by Disney, but I will find a way.
Yes.
Great.
Again, lots of options there. They previously have offered what they call the polar regions, but currently it's not being offered on their website, so I couldn't find much information about that.
Like Antarctica?
I don't know. It just said polar regions, so I was like, I'm not sure exactly what that means. It sounds intriguing for someone that's not me because I despise the cold.
I feel like it's all those things. Don't you have to do that, what, Drake Passage crossing that we see all over
Maybe.
TikTok where people have to like go on that crazy
Yeah.
sea, and it's either like they say when it's either really still or like really, really awful.
Yeah.
It's no in between.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that.
No, thank you. I'll just
But
go to Disney instead.
yes.
But then they also do Central and South America, Colombia, Costa Rica. They do just like the Amazon as one, which I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like different locations throughout there.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And the Galapagos Islands, which like that sounds fascinating to me.
I want to see the penguins. I'd be all in for the penguins.
And the giant tortoises that live on the Galapagos Islands.
Yeah.
That would be so
Like,
fun.
let's go. Okay.
And then they have so many options in Europe. They have 28 options in Europe. So like I did not list them all, but like places like Barcelona, the British Isles, Iceland, Portugal, like literally basically anywhere that you could think of, they go. And then the last category, and this one recently I think made kind of like Disney news a couple months ago when they announced it. They have an around the world option, and it is $115,000. And you start in Anaheim and you end in Orlando, but in between it's Anaheim, San Francisco, Tokyo, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Agra, Cairo, Paris, and then Orlando. And you visit all of the parks on your way around the world.
I mean, if I had that money, I would do it in a
Right?
heartbeat.
Right.
Like, that would be amazing. But
Yes.
yeah.
So again, like I said, some of these are more expensive than others because you've got to think about travel and transport and all that kind of stuff. But that is the most expensive one when it comes to Adventures by Disney. But if you're someone who is looking for a way to travel the world, it can be intimidating, I know, to think about going to other countries. So I feel like doing something like through Adventures by Disney can give you a little bit of peace of mind knowing that Disney is taking care of things for you. I feel like that helps a little.
Yeah, and I think it's similar to if you've ever been on a Disney cruise and you pay for like their shore excursions, and then they go and you meet up with a local who's like very well versed and very knowledgeable, and they act as your tour guide and they take you around, and they, like it's all just kind of like done for you. It's very much, from what I understand, it's like that. I have not paid to do one of these, so take that with a grain of salt. But from those experience of those shore excursions, they're usually very, very well done, and you get a lot out of them. And it's all kind of it's relaxed for you because you don't have to stress about getting places and knowing where to go and what to do and how to speak all the languages and things like that. So it's really convenient for that.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. So I feel like if I ever decide to go to any of these places, the first place I'm going to try to book it through is Adventures by Disney. It gives me a little bit of peace of mind because I really want to, and this kind of segues into the next section that we're going to talk about, the international parks, but I really want to visit Tokyo and Shanghai, but that is very intimidating to me because I don't have the knowledge that I need at this point in my life to be in those cultures. So I'd have to do a lot of research, but also then booking through something like Adventures by Disney gives me a little bit of peace of mind knowing that I'll have a guide of some sort with me. So that way that can be very helpful.
And we should mention that this is not sponsored by Adventures by Disney. It sounds a little bit like an infomercial, and it's really not. We're just giving you some information on how you could travel the world with a little magical Disney touch, if that's what you'd like to do.
Truth.
But let's talk a little bit about visiting an international Disney park is like high on the list for me. I just did Disneyland Paris. That's where these ears are from. In case you're wondering, I just did Disneyland Paris this last year, and Tokyo Disney is like definitely on my list for in the next 18 months or so, I'm hoping. And I totally get the idea of being really intimidated by it. I'm more intimidated than I used to be when I was young because we lived in Europe and we just traveled a lot. And I just got used to like being in different cultures all the time and just adapting. And now I'm old and I have kids and that's more stressful. So,
especially thinking about, do you want to take them with you? That's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah, they did well in Europe overall. So, and they talk about it all the time. And that was a huge life experience. Yeah. We have 5 international Disney parks. We've got Tokyo Disney, which was, and then we have Disneyland Paris, Hong Kong Disneyland, and then Shanghai. So those are all the ones. A lot of people are surprised that there's like Shanghai and Hong Kong. There's a lot over there in the Asian part of the world.
Hmm.
So, that is there's lots of places to visit, and they're all a little bit different. If people are like, oh, they're not carbon copies of each other
Mm-mm.
at all. There's some things that are similar, there's some rides that are identical, but by and large there's lands that are completely different. The food is very
Yeah.
different, and it is all worth experiencing if you can make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we talk about bucket list items. Those are on my bucket list. I just know it's probably going to take me the
Me
next
too.
50 years to get to all of them.
Me too. And it's expensive. Travel is expensive. And luckily, some of these parks, when you go to them, if you're coming from the US, they at least don't cost as much because your exchange rate works in your
Mhm.
advantage. So that does help. But sometimes just the act of getting there is extremely hard, especially if we're talking Asia. I mean, for us, that's like a 12, 13 plus hour flight. And we're not that far from it. We're like on the other side of the Pacific Rim.
Right.
So it takes a lot to get there. So we get
Yeah.
that.
And I think about that coming from the Eastern time zone, and I'm like, that's a lot. Because I gotta get, there's a lot of time zones that I'm traveling, so it's definitely something that you have to do a lot of research before you go, but it is definitely a good thing to plan for if that's something that you really want to do. And if it's maybe your resolution is to start to budget or start to put a little bit of money aside for a trip in 5 years. That's great if that's what you want to do. There's lots of different ways that you can approach travel when it comes to resolutions.
Yeah. Ryan's asking, do cast members speak English in the international parks? In Paris, for sure, they do. They speak both. Because most of the people that go there are from the UK, so it's like there's everything's in French and English in that park, so it's not hard at all to communicate. And in terms of the other ones, I would be surprised if they didn't speak English in most of those places, just because almost all those countries learn English alongside their native language, first of all. And second of all, the fact that it's Disney, they probably do. You might have some signs and things. Signs are probably both in like the language and then also English, from what I've seen. And then you can also get like my iPhone translates things like crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so I was translating my daughter's, she got a little Kirby ramen bowl. It has some language on the bottom. I'm not even sure which one it is, to be honest. But so I used my iPhone to translate it. And it said the power of the stars, because we all thought it said Kirby, and it says the power of the stars. I was like, oh, so you
There you
can
go.
use your phone to hold it up and read things
Yeah.
and translate really easily, which helps a lot.
Yeah.
So
Technology is great. Like, I can't imagine 20, 30 years ago trying to visit these countries and not having the ability to Google Translate something.
yeah, right. Yeah, it was a whole different ballgame traveling in the early 2000s. I will tell you that.
Yeah,
Um,
so true. Speaking of more travel, Kate, let's talk about Disney cruises.
Yeah, and not a ton,
No.
because it's a massive topic that we could get into for days. And I think Jackie and I are planning a series on Disney Cruise Line for later in the year for Mom Street. So if that's something you'd like to learn more about, stick around, because we'll talk more about it later.
Yes.
But Disney Cruise does have 19 different locations they're going to currently. They change it up every once in a while. 6 different ships currently. They add some every once in a while. And they go to the Caribbean, Europe, Alaska, Canada, Mexico. I think right now they even have Australian. Sometimes they have Hawaii. They do like Panama Canal cruises. They do transatlantic cruises.
Lots
They
of
do
stuff.
West Coast cruises and East Coast cruises. It's just like anywhere you want to
Yeah.
go, they're probably going there at some point because they have a massive fleet of ships. It is spendy to go on a Disney cruise. But it's worth saving up for if that's something that you could fit in your budget, because it's a really amazing experience. I will say that.
Yeah, and it's a good way if like Adventures by Disney is not in your budget and not something that you want to try to save up for. Doing a Disney cruise is a much better way to kind of regionally see the world.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are and where you're going and all that kind of stuff. And then maybe a little closer to maybe a price point that fits within your budget.
Yeah. So that's what we did this last summer, as we flew over to London, and then we did a Northern European cruise. So we got to go to Denmark and Belgium and Norway, a couple stops in Norway, and then also back to London. So we saw the UK. And then we just took the train through the tunnel and went to Paris and saw Disneyland Paris and then went home. And so it was quite an amazing vacation. It was a long vacation with a lot of logistics, but it was amazing how many things we saw in a very short period of time. And I love cruises because you can just go to sleep and wake up in another country. So you don't have to do that act of traveling to another country, which is very stressful, especially if you have a family.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I could tell you stories of us trying to get all of our, what is it? There was 6 of us with suitcases all onto the train before the doors closed and the train left.
No.
It was the most stressful thing I've ever done.
No.
And it was like, I don't think I've ever been that stressed out in my life, making sure we had all the people and the bags on the train while there's other people trying to get on and off the train. It's like, no, next time we're going to travel really light if we ever do it again. So anyway.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, Disney cruise. Go to Disney cruise is so much easier than doing that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely it is. So all of those ideas, again, this category, a little bit more spendy when it comes to doing different kinds of travel with Adventures by Disney, international parks, and the Disney Cruise Line. But again,
It's expensive.
it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, are there ways that you can experience these places from the comfort of your own home? Absolutely. That's what YouTube is for. And that's what social media is for, and content of people. There's lots of people that visit the international parks now. Some of them you can't like do live streams in and things like that, but there's lots of that content that's out and available. So just do a quick search and you can also enjoy it from the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, which I think it segues nicely into our next category of resolutions, which would be spending more time with your family, which we're huge advocates for, obviously. But I put this idea of doing a virtual Disney trip, which I feel like a lot of us did during like lockdown time.
Yes.
Because we're like, we need to like do something, but want to get out, but we can't get out.
Pretend like we can leave even though we can't.
But it's really fun to just plan like a little night in or something where you're like, okay, we're just going to go and we're going to watch video footage on YouTube of like the different areas of the park. Like, what ride should we go on next? And you go and you watch that ride, like a point of view of that ride. And I just think it's really fun. You can also have Disney snacks, like a lot of stores sell the Mickey ice cream bars. You could get those. Popcorn and churros that they also sell at the grocery stores and things like that. So you can make some Disney snacks and kind of virtually go to the park. And I think it's also really nice if you really want to go to Disney, but it is just not in the cards right now. And that's, I think, a lot of us, because the groceries are spendy. So, so this is a way that you can do that and still kind of get that magic with your family, but in a way that maybe is a little bit more budget friendly.
Yeah, and I think another budget-friendly option that you could do are like theme nights or Disney movie nights. And we've talked about different ways to kind of go about doing that, but just having where your food for the night is themed to whatever movie you're going to watch, or
Lady and the Tramp with spaghetti and meatballs.
Exactly.
For example.
Yes. You could, doing something as easy as Toy Story and having pizza because Pizza Planet, it doesn't have to be elaborate and extreme. But doing Disney movie nights together as a family, planning it together as a family, or letting, rotating through who gets to pick the theme for the week, however you want to do that. And then obviously, if you're able to, book a trip and plan it together with your family. That's something that my kids love to do because we've included them in the last several trips that we've done. So anytime I tell them that we're doing a trip, they're like, okay, when are we going to do our ride list? When are we going to pick out what we want to do? Like,
Aww,
they're ready.
they're little mini
I
Jackies.
know.
It's so cute.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I love it.
But
Their kids don't do that. They're kind of like, what are we wearing? Because they go on outfits.
That's fair.
They're like, let's plan our outfits.
And I feel like once my kids are a little bit older, like right now they could care less. I'll give them some options when it comes to like planning their outfits, and they like to be involved when I'm packing, but they don't necessarily have super strong opinions because they like everything that's in their closet. So like as long as I'm pulling stuff out of their closet, they're like, cool, that's fine, whatever.
That's nice.
They have
That changes when they get older. At least it did for me.
They have started to get really attached to any of the shirts that I have bought from our friend Kirk at Walrus Carp. Those are like their favorites that they like to wear. We bought them the matching Madame Leota Making Spirits Bright holiday shirt. So all four of us had them.
That one.
I know, it's such a good one.
So great.
But we had that one on when we went this past time. And they were so excited that we all were like matching together. So I envision, we also did some Disney bounding this last time for the first time, like as a family. So I envision there will probably be more of that. But right now they're more concerned about getting to give their input on what rides we do.
No, I love that. So yeah, those are just some small ideas for a resolution of spending more time together as a family. Obviously we're focusing on just the Disney ones. There's lots of things you can do to spend more time together as a family, but we're focusing on specifically Disney things you can do. Speaking of planning and organizing, Jackie, I feel like this next topic is for you, this resolution, because it's all about planning and organizing more.
I mean, I just enjoy doing that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Exactly. So if you are someone who's like, man, I wish that I was more organized, or I wish that I had like a better way to like do my Disney trip and plan it. First of all, you're in the right place because that's what Kate and I are for. So being here, check that off your list. You're already doing it.
Done.
Woohoo.
We do love checkbox.
We do.
Checking off all the boxes. That's a thing we do here.
Yes. So. But something as simple as Etsy planners and guides there are so many different options that you can find online. Mom Street, Kate and I have several options we have like a planning checklist and different, 1-day strategy guides and all those kinds of things. Those currently live on the Walrus Carp Discord on our Mom Street channel. So if you're looking for those, that's where you can currently find them. I also have an Etsy shop that has planners and guides and things like that as well. But there are so many options that you can find that you can search around and find one that really is catered to what you want and what works for you. And even just the Disney themed calendars, can be super fun, even if you're not planning a trip, but you just need to be more organized with your schedule or whatever. But having a planner that's Disney themed can make it a little bit more magical as you go through your day-to-day life. And then, making and buying a countdown for your next trip. We did a whole episode on half an episode on countdowns, and what that looks like and surprising people with Disney trips and all that. It's all in there. But doing that can be just as fun too.
Yeah. And I will say that our like checklist that we curated, that's like the ultimate Disney planning checklist it's like a one sheet that's all the things you need. And I pulled that out because I'm planning a trip for my family to Disney World, which I haven't done in like a couple of years. And so I'm like, thank goodness we made this because now I'm using it.
I have also referred back to it. Like, I have my own checklist that I've just been using for as long as I can remember. But I definitely because it's me, I cross-reference it.
Cross-reference with your spreadsheet.
Listen, it brings me joy, okay? And I'm not going to stop doing it.
I think it's great. They say what at least 50% of like I'm throwing that number out there, but they said that so much of the enjoyment of your trip is actually like the anticipation of it and the planning. Like that's like a huge part of it. And those who are surprised by trips don't feel as much satisfaction of them necessarily because they didn't get to plan it. So just saying, planning's good.
There you go. So yes, lots of different ways that you can plan. And if you're someone who wants a plan and wants to be organized, but doesn't necessarily want to do it yourself, that's also what I'm here for. So if you need help with your itinerary or your Genie Plus or planning, send us a message. We will help.
Yeah, Jackie's so good at that. She helped me with my Disneyland Paris one because I was overwhelmed with all the other details of that trip. So Jackie's wonderful as a trip consultant getting things planned out. All right, so next up we have on our resolutions list that we are Disney-fying. We've got relaxing more and self-care, which should be my resolution.
I know. That's what I thought too when I was making this list. I was like, that's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
So let's go ahead. This first one is all you, Kate.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So the first one is read more Disney books. And there's so many good ones out there. I have a whole stack of them. I want to show you because my shelf is awful over here. But I have probably at least 150 Disney history and Disney books. And so I know which ones are my favorites and which ones I'm I probably could do without that one. So I put my favorites on a specifically Disney history book list on my Amazon storefront. So there is a Mr. Link in bio for that one. If you guys are interested in that, we'll link it in our show notes as well. But then I also do have a couple of books that I've published as well, in case you want something that is, I have two books that are behind me that I can show you. That one is called A Glimpse of the Magic, Finding Ourselves in the Disney Story. This is a nonfiction book that is like a curated collection of writings about how we experience the Disney parks and has Disney history in it as well. And then this one's called Where the Fireflies Dance, and it is a first of a series that I'm working on. I've written 2 books in the series, but this one is all about Disney history. It comes alive when 2 live streamers find love in the shadow of Sleeping Beauty Castle, but one of them they're hiding a dangerous secret, so their fairy tale romance might just unravel into an unhappily ever after. So that's what this one's about.
Ooh.
If you like Disney live streamers, if you like Disney history, if you like Disney content creators, or if you just like being in the Disney parks and want to put yourself there mentally, this one is a good one for that. And then I have the next book in the series. It's a romantic suspense, so no surprises there. But the next one in the series is coming out before the end of this month. It's almost done, and it is called What the Mansion Eyes See. So it's a haunted mansion, a little bit themed book, which Jackie has read.
I have. So good. You guys are gonna love it.
Yeah, so those are also, they're available on Amazon in case anybody's looking for them. They're pretty easy to find if you just search for Disney Cicerone or Kate Grasso. They're around. So those, if you just want to. Yeah. Lem just said he just bought the Fireflies one. Oh, thanks, Lem. And Kirk's saying the second book is all about a Yeti stuck in a mountain in Disney World, which is not true. So don't listen for that. That's not true.
No.
But
that's not it. But yes, lots of fun ways that if reading is a way that you enjoy your self-care and helps you relax, there are so many great Disney books. And if you have a specific genre you're looking for, reach out to Kate. She can help you find the books that you're looking for.
Yeah, I've read a lot. I read probably 2 to 3 books a week. I'm just a voracious reader. That's how I know all the things I know, since I just read a ton. So if you need a good book about something specific in Disney culture, I probably know one I can recommend. So
there you go. That's
and Lem saying can confirm as a person who doesn't enjoy reading, he did enjoy reading this book because he just read the new one that's coming out this month. So thanks for that.
So
I appreciate
helpful.
that. Yeah.
So helpful.
And I do have, yes, audio versions. So the first 2 are available on Audible. And enough plugging me. Let's move on.
but it's so good. It's okay. Well, then let's plug ourselves, shall we? Continue to plug unintentionally plug. Another way that you may enjoy relaxation and self-care are podcasts. And there are thousands of Disney podcasts that you can listen to.
Yes.
Kate and I are fortunate enough to be, between the 2 of us, part of, obviously Mom Street, but then Kate has her podcast with our friend Kirk from Rawless Carp that is Distery with Kate and Kirk. That is a full deep dive into Disney history.
Really
that's yes.
Yes.
If that's something that you're interested in, you can find that in all of the places that podcasts exist. And Mom Street is very fortunate to be a part of a super fun group of podcasters through our Chip & Co. Network. So United We Fan, We Like Theme Parks and Company, and the Dis Life podcast are all part of that. And you can find those all on the Chip & Co. podcast network, which is also where you will find our episodes when they premiere. So lots of good content over there as well.
Yeah, that's and then I have something that I have been working on just as kind of a side project every once in a while is some Disney Spotify playlists. Now, there's lots of wonderful Disney Spotify playlists out there, so you don't have to listen to mine. But if you want Disney history specific playlists, I have one that's called the Historian's Lounge. It's just kind of like Disney lounge music, so to speak, mostly instrumental. So if you need that for the background. And then also have, if you search for Distery Radio, like Disney history, Distery Radio, I've curated, as we do our District podcast, I've curated some playlists that were actually from like queues or various areas in the Disney parks. So you can listen to those. We have a lot of Jungle Cruise ones on there. And I'm working on a few others as well. So District Radio is on there just if you need some historic Disney music. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and I actually have a couple different Spotify playlists as well of all sorts of Disney music. I've got holiday themed ones and just kind of generic Disney movie soundtrack ones. So there's so many that exist on Spotify, and probably a lot of your other favorite content creators have Spotify playlists that maybe they don't talk about a lot. I have found some from other creators that I follow that I'm like, I wonder, and I like go in their little link tree and I'm like, ooh, let me see what they like to listen to.
Yeah, I had to do a very careful like curating of like making some private and some public, because I was like, well, some of these are just not for public consumption. They're like my personal music. So, and my kids, because my kids make things too on my account. So I was like,
Yes.
okay, let's private some of these. So all the public ones are Disney, not all the private ones. Other things that you can do if your resolution is more self-care or relaxation in the new year, learn to draw some Disney characters. We've done this. Just have your remote so you can pause it. That will be less stressful.
So true.
Animation Academy YouTubes and whatnot, and things from the Disney Parks blog and whatnot that will teach you how to draw Disney characters, and that can be really relaxing and fun, and also learn a new skill while you're at it for drawing characters. And I also threw in here just do some Disney coloring. You know, you can just print off. They have sheets, just free printables everywhere that you can print to color and just relax doing that way. Maybe listening to music or watch a movie, you know, to just kind of zone out. And I do this like once a year. I color like once a year, and I should do it more often because it is still relaxing. You know?
Add that to your resolution list.
Yes. I'm making it as we speak.
There you go. See, perfect. Perfect. So I feel like this next one that we've got, kind of our last little resolution category, goes hand in hand with some of the stuff we were just talking about. And that is making the resolution to spend less time on your technology, kind of being more present. Again, this kind of goes hand in hand with relaxing and spending time with family, you know, all of that kind of. But doing things like Disney board games. We love doing Disney board games at my house. There are so many really great options. If you want, there are park specific ones. We've got a Haunted Mansion board game that we love to play. There are ones that are good for kids. We literally on New Year's Eve just pulled out, it's like a big I Spy Disney game, and it's like a 6-foot long game board. My kids love it. It's super fun.
I think
there's
my kids'
tons
favorite
of options.
This one is my kid's favorite, and it's called Color Brain. Have you ever played this one, Jackie?
No.
This one's really fun. I won't get too far into it. It's really simple, even for younger kids to play, because all it is like it'll show a character, and then it'll show like the card will be like the Incredibles, the logo on the Incredibles hero costumes, 4 colors, and then you have color cards in your hand, and you have to like remember what colors they are. And you'll actually be surprised what colors you think things are, and then they're not. They're different. So this is probably one of our favorite kids game to play with my kids, because it's really easy. It's only like 20 minutes long. It's not a long game.
That's
we can
helpful.
play a couple if we want to. Yeah, or just a short game. But I like that one a lot. And it says 8+ on it, but if you read the card to the kids, they could probably do it younger.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we also have a Small World game that my kids love to play, and it's all just like matching. So like super easy. There are so many different Disney versions of games. Even if you get, you know, they have Uno cards that are Mickey Mouse themed, or, you know, there's lots of different really easy variations that you can do if you don't want to like dive feet first into the world of Disney board games. Same thing goes with puzzles. That is one that like I've talked about on here before. My son loves doing puzzles. So we have tons of Disney puzzles in my house that are just super fun, and we like to do it together. I often will sit and observe while my husband and my son do the puzzles because it's something they truly enjoy, and I enjoy watching them do it. So
Yeah,
it's a good dynamic.
It's relaxing to watch somebody else like put the pieces together, for sure.
Yeah, so those are just a couple ways that you can spend your time being more present with family, with yourself, with your significant other, with your spouse, whatever it may be. Just spending some of that quality time together and making it Disney.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I think we've reached the end of our, not the end of the episode, just the end of the resolution part. But now we have some bucket list items at Disney. And so those of you who are in our chat, if you have bucket list items as well and you want to add them to the chat, we'll also put them here, things you've always wanted to do at Disney or with Disney or involving Disney. We would love to hear your ideas as well. So let's talk a bit about bucket list. And I just wanted to preface this with something that is actually from, sorry, I'm going to bring it back out. This book, A
Do
Glimpse of
not
Magic.
apologize. Be proud of that book, Kate.
Well, because I have a chapter in here that's all about breaking your ghost rules at Disney. And ghost rules isn't something that I got from Todd Henry of Accidental Creative. And he says ghost rules are invisible limitations that people place upon themselves for no good reason. Sometimes these rules come baked in, assumptions about what is and isn't possible. And so basically in that chapter, I'm just going to summarize it really quick, that I talk about how at Disney, we always have these things that we always do at Disney. And some of them really bring us joy. Like you always get a Dole Whip or you always go on the stride first and something. And that's great. Like those are amazing. But there's also things we never get to because we always do the same thing. So this is encouraging you to step out of your Disney comfort zone and maybe do something differently than you've always done it when you go to Disney. And I have been practicing this for the last 2 years because I have had the luxury of going to the parks a lot. So I don't do everything every time I go anymore. Like I just do what I feel like or need to do. And so now I've really reached outside my comfort zone. I was like, I'm going to go try this new ride or this new thing or this thing I've always walked by and always wanted to try. And like, don't put yourself in that box where I have to do Disney the same way every time. Even if you just try one new thing, that can make like a huge difference. You might find something that you absolutely love and it changes your perspective about what Disney is. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
Is break your ghost rules. Don't let them rule you, haunt you, if you will.
But yes, we've kind of come up with just a general list of some things that you may want to put on your Disney parks bucket list. Again, this is by no means a comprehensive, complete list of all of the things that you could put on. Your list is going to be so specific to you as an individual and how you do the parks and how often you get to the parks and have you been before and all of those types of things. But these are just kind of some thoughts that we had that we thought maybe would be helpful to share.
I do have a couple of people already chiming in with
yes.
some of their
Go ahead.
things.
Let's start off with those.
So Grace says, I would love to stay in the Polynesian bungalows.
Same.
Too.
Yep, that's on my bucket list someday.
Mikala, I think is how you pronounce that. Victorian Alberts is definitely on my bucket list. One day I'll take out a loan for it. Same. And yeah, so those are a couple things that I see coming in here. And then we have, which goes along with try something new to eat, which I think is something that we do. We, like I said, we always kind of eat the exact same things. So finding something that is a new flavor, a new restaurant that maybe you're a little intimidated by, because there are a couple like very, I'm leaning towards like Sanaa and Boma and stuff, like the flavors might be a little bit out there for some people, but you might find something you really love in there. So finding something new to eat is definitely on that bucket list, and maybe something you've always been eyeballing that you want to have but you never have. Like took me forever
go
to
for
get
it.
Churros in the Nomad Lounge. Like that was a bucket list item forever.
Yeah, and
just finally did it.
Just go for it. And along with that, going on a ride that you haven't been before, maybe something you've been apprehensive about, or just something you've run out of time to do. Like just make it the first thing that you do.
Yeah, the first thing. Yeah, it's so, and yeah, so you don't get too overwhelmed with the idea of it, and then it gets like it shadows everything else because you're thinking about doing it. If it's something you're scared to do, or it's just something that you're like, I went on some ride that I was like, I'm never going to go on this again. After I went on it, I think it was got to be California Adventure. I think it was like the jumping jellyfish. And I'd always pass it. I was like, I'm never going to go on.
That was Astro Orbiter for me. I went on it once 2 trips ago, and I never have to do it again.
Yeah,
but I did it.
You have that experience. Yeah, the Death Wheel, that's another one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Obviously know your limitations, and you can respect those, and that's okay. And you don't have to do things that are horrifying to you, but things that maybe it's a little step outside your comfort zone, just give it a try. is good.
Yes. And kind of just in that realm of new, visiting a new park that you haven't been to. We talked about the international parks. Maybe that's something that is your bucket list, or seeing a new show. So lots of new things that you can do in the parks that are very simple to do. If you're already going to be going, just take a look at that list. I literally started a list after I was looking at this. I started a list of things that I haven't done at Disney World. That way, next time I go, I have a list of like, okay, I can pull off one or two things that like I haven't done before that I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I started like a Google Doc with all the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And I am doing a couple of them soon. So I'm excited for that. So then another thing you could do is do a non-parks resort day at Disney World, which I think we've talked about this before. We did a whole episode on things you can do that are not going into the parks at Disney. And there's a ton. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So we won't get into the details here. Let's not get in the weeds. But there is so many things that you can do that are not in the resorts not in the parks, and beyond like swimming at your resort and things that people already kind of know. There's lots of activities and extras and Disney Springs and lots of stuff that you can do. And a lot of it's free or included in your vacation.
Yeah.
So finding some things like planning a day to just be a resort stay. Maybe it's the day you come in and you have a couple of hours, the day you leave. Those are great days for that.
Yeah. Another thing as far as Disney bucket list items would be, and we touched on this briefly a little bit ago, but splurging for table service or character dining that isn't typically in your budget, saving a little bit of extra and splurging for that on a trip can make some good memories when it comes to that type of thing.
Yeah. I always think of like Cinderella's Royal Table as one of those. It's a lot and you have to pay in advance for it.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can save up before. You have to, like, when you go to book, you have to pay for it. So that's definitely one of those. I love that of course, visiting a new Epcot festival. That's always a great one, especially if you get those little ones that are at the beginning of the year that are very short, like at the Festival of the Arts and the Flower and Garden's a little bit longer, but the Festival of the Arts, like, you have to really catch it.
Yes, it's like
it disappears.
It's like barely 6 weeks long and then it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy that it's so short. Where did it go? For Figment being like a huge character in the parks, it's shocking how short it is, actually. And then I love that you take a minivan.
I felt like it was a good one. That's like on my list eventually, to splurge and take a minivan just for funsies, because they're just fun. They're expensive, but they're just fun.
Yeah. Well, I think I might do that sometime. Take a minivan, but I have to be with my family. I do live with a family.
Yeah.
Also, another thing is one that I'm going to do this next trip is go horseback riding.
So exciting.
So I'm really excited that I was given a really sweet kind of Christmas gift from a lot of the Pocket fam. And so I'm kind of like picking and choosing some Disney things that I've never done before that I really want to do. And I really want to see an armadillo. And I heard that if you go horseback riding, you might see one. So that's my bucket list item, is seeing an armadillo at Disney World, because apparently when they were building Disney World, they were running around everywhere. And so they're like native. They said everywhere you'd go, there'd be an armadillo that like crosses your path. So I'm like, what? I want to see an armadillo at Disney World.
Well, just remember that might not be a given, and it will be a happy, lovely...
Manage my expectations.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's even if it's just a nice ride through the wilderness area, I'll be happy. But and I rarely get to ever go horseback riding. That's such a it's so out of my price range.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. The next one that we've got on our bucket list items is one that our friend Kathy B actually just mentioned over here, is doing a tour. There are so many different tours that you can do at Disney World and Disneyland. More at Disney World, a few still at Disneyland that are good, but VIP tours, behind the scenes tours at Epcot, Keys to the Kingdom. Animal Kingdom has a ton of experience tours that you can do. Caring for Giants, the Wild Africa Trek, Up Close with the Rhinos. At Disneyland, they've got Walt's Main Street Story tour.
That was where you go in the apartment. That's like a great one. Yeah, so if you want to go in Walt's firehouse apartment, take the Main Street tour in Disneyland.
Yes, so many different options that you can choose there if you want to splurge. And some are a lot more reasonably priced than others. Some of those Animal Kingdom ones are really not that expensive when you
Now
break
it's
it
like
down.
$40
Yeah.
ish per person.
Yeah.
And the behind the scenes tour is similarly priced. It's about $40. So
Yes.
that one is but then the other ones can get a little bit pricey. They have like I can't remember what it's called. Sip of the Savannah, something like that tour. It's like
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom where they do like a private vehicle out in the savannah, and then they give you like meal and drinks and things like that. That one's pricey. And the one that's also like the Trek one, Wild Africa Trek, that one's pretty expensive as well. But you get to go over like rope bridges, and it's really cool. So
Right. Yes. So again, depends on what you're looking for and depends on what you want to spend your money on, but lots of different options when it comes to that.
Now, Michaela says for our honeymoon, we did horse carriage ride at Fort Orleans. So pretty relaxing. That's another really great one.
Yeah.
Involving some horses.
Yes. Love it. Another one that I would love to someday do is taking a fireworks cruise. So they let you rent out the boats that they take you out on. Is that Seven Seas Lagoon? I always get the bodies of water wrong whenever I'm thinking about what their names are.
The one with the hotels like right around it is Seven Seas
Yes.
because there were supposed to be hotels that represented the Seven Seas.
Makes sense.
That's how I remember it.
There you go. See, and
They couldn't build them because there's sinkholes everywhere.
Yeah, Florida. Great. But you can rent out the boats on the Seven Seas Lagoon and take them out for a fireworks cruise. It's if you've got a big enough group, it's fairly decently priced because it is like per boat and you can have up to, I think, 10 people that go with you. So again, pricing dependent on what you want to spend.
Yeah. I really wanted to do that, but I was like, it's just a lot. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. You can also attend a party or after hours event. Those especially we've seen a lot this year. We had the new Jollywood happen this year at Hollywood Studios. And then, of course, Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party and Mickey's Not So Scary Christmas Party. Not Christmas party, Halloween party. Sorry, everyone's gonna come after me. No, Halloween party. We just came out of Christmas. My brain's there. So there's all kinds of events that happen, and then some of these festivals as well will have extra workshops and concerts and things like that you can go to, which are really fun.
Yeah, and a couple maybe less costly things that you can do. Buy a new type of souvenir. Buy yourself a pair of these lovely Mickey ears. There's so many different options, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know. Just do it. You'll be glad you did. They're fun.
Jackie the enabler.
I mean,
I don't need more ears.
I'm not enabling. I'm just encouraging. There's a difference.
No, that's good though. I mean, there's a lot of souvenirs where I'm just like, oh, I love that, but I'm like, oh, that's too much, And I've like for years I've said that's too much, and that's a really neat kind of thing. It's like maybe it's just become something really special that's like your thing that you save up for, So I love that.
Yeah,
a new mug. A mug's a good one too for like a cup, like big Asian one. So also looking for hidden Mickeys. We've talked about this before. That's a really fun thing to start doing if you've never tried it. So that's a really fun. There's great books out there about finding hidden Mickeys, and also websites and stuff too if you don't want to buy a book for it. And then there's also, I have a Disney history scavenger hunts. I have 2 currently that are at DisneyCicero.com. If you just literally search for Disney history scavenger hunt, it's probably the first thing will pop up in Google. Like my SEO is like amazing for that. So
yay!
It's there. But it's also around, and we'll try to link it in the show notes as well for anybody who wants to do them. But I have one for Magic Kingdom and I have one for Disneyland, and they're just like 20 items. They're printable, they're free, and then you can go and take them and look for some Disney history while you're in the parks. And it is something I'm considering making into a book with links to my content. So we'll see if that happens in 2024. We'll see.
Add it to the list somewhere, right?
Yeah. There's other Disney scavenger hunts that are out there as well. So if you don't want to use a Disney history specific one, there's plenty out there that you can search on Pinterest and things like that, just to do a fun little scavenger hunt with your kids or yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about the Epcot Festival scavenger hunts and all those types of things too. So lots of different hunting options if that's something that if your kids are like my kids and they love to do those. So
Yes.
definitely a fun thing to do when you're in the parks. Also, another one that is fun to do while you're in the parks is trying a new Disney bound. Kate is like the queen of Disney bounds.
No. I do enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
It's
Lots of fun options. If you don't know what Disney bounding is, it's essentially dressing so that your attire kind of alludes to a character. Think like a couple steps back from being in like a costume. You know, that Disney does not allow anyone 14 and older, I think it is, to do costumes in the parks unless it's like a special like Halloween event. But if you want to dress like a character, you can Disney bound, where your colors and the combination of your outfit kind of allude to a character.
Yeah, and it's real fun, and I like to make mine kind of subtle but still kind of there, and it's a really fun thing to do. And there's all kinds of ideas on Pinterest for that, so if you need a place to go, that's where I would recommend searching if you need Disney bound ideas. I found a few on there, and then I just kind of tweak it and make it my own as well. So
yeah. And now if you've got younger kids that maybe don't want to bound but want to go all out when it comes to dressing up for in the parks, doing something like Bippity Boppity Boutique can be a fun bucket list item for them to be able to do when you're in the parks.
yeah, it's not a cheap one, but they have options for boys as well as girls.
Yes.
They've got little like prince outfits and things they can choose, or pirate, I think was the other one, prince or pirate.
I don't know that the pirate one exists anymore.
It's been a while since I've researched that, but prince
It
stuff for sure.
did. I don't think it ever came back after the world shut down. And then I think they announced that it wasn't coming back, if I remember correctly. But I know the Prince one is an option at the current location in Magic Kingdom.
And then they do have the barber shop as well. I think that there's a cheaper option that you can go and get a little haircut, which is fun. That one's much cheaper than
Yes.
Bippity Boppity, but
Yes.
a little bit different of experience. And if you your kids can get all beautiful, but if you want to get maybe something too, there's book a spa appointment at the Grand Floridian. Some of the other places have spas as well, but I've actually been to the Grand Floridian one once. I'm not like a habit, like it was a gift. So it's like, but I think we got massages. I think we got couples massage or something that was a gift gifted to us back when we had really little kids. And it was so welcome. But it's a very relaxing spot. It's walkable just right from the Grand Floridian, or you can take the monorail route there. And it's wonderful. So that's definitely a splurge though. But
Yeah.
that's a nice little self-pampering thing.
Yeah, and hey, that's what bucket list items are fun, when you get to splurge a little, I think.
That's right. That's right. And I feel like I have to explain this next one.
Yes, please.
This is all me.
I know of it, but I'm going to let you, because you know way more about it than I do.
Okay. So this one, I'm going to preface this with saying this is not for children. This is an adult only thing to do, or maybe like very older children, like older teens. But this is the chef's counter at Napa Rose. So if you've never heard of this, just buckle up for a second, because it's a thing. Okay. So I did this with my husband a long time ago now, but it's still's going on there. We did it for an anniversary because it was special. It's usually around $150 per person. It can be a little bit more if you choose a package that comes with like wine that's curated for your meal. But you actually sit at the counter right around the kitchen and like the pastry chef area where they're preparing the food. And you get to talk to the chef while they're preparing the food. And you get to kind of like watch what's happening in the kitchen. And then they get a 6 to 7 course meal. Wow. That they curate for you. So they ask you a bunch of questions about what you like to eat, what your flavors are, if you have any allergies, all those kinds of things. And then they just go and like make a meal. It's based on what they currently have available in the kitchen. So just know that like they can't just like go prepare something totally wild, but they will. Like my menu is completely different than my husband's because he likes spicy food and things like that. So like it was fascinating to see what they decided to give us to eat, because you don't order yourself. You don't order what you want. They just give you food based on what they think you might like. And it's such a cool experience, and getting to like really watch them in action and see how the kitchen functions and stuff. And then for $150 for a 6 to 7 course meal at Disney, in one of the best restaurants at Disney, because Napa Rose is in the Grand Floridian in Disneyland, in case you don't know where it is. It's an amazing experience. So it's that being said, it's very difficult to get these reservations. Okay. So here's what you do if you want to get a reservation.
Write this down.
Write it down. The reservations for the Napa Rose Chef's Counter open on the first day of the month, 2 months prior to when you plan to dine. Okay. You have to call the restaurant directly. It is 714-300-7170. And you have to call precisely at 12:01 a.m. on the day of that reservation. The availability opens for your intended date, and then you leave a detailed message. So the restaurant probably won't be open. They're probably not going to answer the phone. You're going to leave a voicemail. Okay.
Oh my goodness. This is involved.
Include your name, your contact information, the dining party size, so how many people you have, your desired reservation date, and preferences for a seating time. Then the Napa Rose team will listen to those voicemails based on the order that they receive them and give you basically a call back, and they'll like help you make the reservation. It might take a couple days for them to get to you depending on how many there are. So just like you book any dining reservation, you have to be on time, you have to be on your game, and you have to know what you're doing. Okay.
That's
but
crazy.
It's not through the regular dining reservation thing. So this is like totally different thing. It's very, very special. And it is 100% worth it for the price that you pay. So if you want to splurge on like the coolest dining experience you could have at Disneyland, in my opinion, outside of like Club 33, which you can't, finagle your way in unless you know somebody.
Why is Club 33 not on our list?
I know, right? I think it should be. Let's add that next. But yeah, so anyway, Napa Rose Chef's Counter. If it's not on your bucket list and you're a foodie, put it on your list now.
There you go.
Then I also say, yes, Club 33 is for sure on a bucket list for everybody. It's not something that you can get to without knowing somebody. You got to know somebody. It's not something you can even buy your way into necessarily. You have to know somebody who is a member. I've gotten to go just because of a friend kind of like invited me along, which was really sweet of my friend. It was actually a friend of mine who is also a Disney creator, who's a Disney photographer, who married me and my husband. So it's just really fun that he invited me along. So it's a really cool experience if you ever get to go to Club 33. The food is amazing. It's outrageously priced. It is really neat. They have like a band, like a ghost band that like disappears from a frame and shows up in another frame in another part of the restaurant.
That's cool.
Yeah, and they have this very old French elevator lift that used to be operational. It's not anymore, so they kind of just put it in the lounge. I haven't been in the dining room yet, so that's still on my bucket list because I was just in the lounge area. But they have the old vulture that used to like listen in on conversations. They used to have birds that were supposed to like talk back to people after listening to their conversations, and then they realized that like people that go to Club 33 probably don't want people listening to their conversations.
Yeah,
so
probably not. Probably not.
They also have like a phone booth from The Happiest Millionaire. So if you know that Disney movie, the actual prop from it is in Club 33. So there's lots of really special things you can see in there. 100% put it on your bucket list. If it's not, it's you have to know somebody. So go make friends, but not to get into Club 33 because that's just icky. So
yeah, don't do that. Don't take advantage of people, but make new friends.
Make new friends. Yes.
And then the last item that we have that we came up with on this kind of quick and concise bucket list, so to speak, is starting pin trading or just collecting pins of some sort. So we talked a little bit about Mickey ears earlier, but maybe pin trading is more something that interests you. So maybe just do it.
And I'd never really been a pin trader. I traded my first pin this last year, which was very nice of Kirk and Walrus Corp to give me a pin to trade. So I have now my pin, and I will never let it go because I'm bad at pin trading. I collect them more than trade.
Same.
And something I started doing for my family was I got them for Christmas. I got them all these like felt hexagons that you can stick on the wall that you can stick pins into, and then every time I go to Disney without them, I get a pin that reminds me of them, and then they put on their wall, and so they know I was thinking of them during the trip. It's partially a way to like make me think like meaningful gifts for them instead of like just whatever I can find. Yeah. Also, like it's expensive to get gifts at Disney when you go every month, so I was like, what can I get that makes them know I was thinking of them, but isn't super expensive and is more meaningful.
Right.
So that's what we do now is we all kind of collect pins from each other and they all kind of go on our wall. And that's a little special pin thing that I started this year. So
I love that. That's so sweet. Yeah, I am also bad at trading. I have taken like a pin to trade and then like I go to do it and I'm like, I don't know if I wanna.
I just want to keep it because I like the pin.
I know,
And
right?
yeah.
It's
the
hard.
only ones I'd want to trade are like the garbage pins, and I don't want to do that. Kind of
Right.
do ones that are like not official, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's tricky. It's tricky. Maybe someday. Maybe I should add that. I should
Step out of your comfort zone. Break your ghost rules about pin trading, Jackie.
Well, I'm also just like I made a rule for myself a long time ago that I'm really not supposed to collect pins because that will just open a giant can of worms that will just put me into mass amounts of Disney debt if I start doing pin collecting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I told my husband this, oh gosh, probably a decade ago, like when he and I first started going to Disney together. I promised him that I would not do it. Well, I've been gifted pins by different people, so I have a small collection, but I don't think I've purchased any of the ones that I have. I think they've all been gifted to me by various different lovely people. But yeah, so I'm just not allowed because I can't let myself do that. I just collect 25 pairs of ears instead. It's fine.
Me too. Well, I told my husband I wasn't going to get into like lounge flies, and then he bought me one because he's like, you should have one of these. And now I can't stop buying them. And I'm like, this is bad. They're expensive. I try to get them on sale at least. That's my goal. It's always getting them like half price, but gosh, they're spendy.
Yes, they are.
But they take it out of space too.
Bucket list.
House.
Bucket list.
Bucket list.
That's fine. It makes it okay. It's like girl math, but just bucket list it and it makes it okay.
I know. One of the things on my bucket list that I didn't put on here is that I want to collect some like Disney memorabilia that's like I want like some concept art. I want some like a cell one day, someday. It's gonna be a long time. I want something from the Disney parks that, I have things from opening year because behind me because of my mom, but I just want like to get I see these things at auction all the time because I'm always on the auctions just looking at the stuff posted, not to buy, just to like look at it.
I love that.
Someday I'm gonna buy one. That's what I'm gonna do. Bucket list item.
There you
someday.
go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lounge flies are dangerous. I agree. Yes.
Yes.
Our ears.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we won't go there.
All right. Well, shall we move on to our final portion for our podcast episode here? It would be our Ask the Mom section, which if you don't know what this is where we take a question from our Mom Street audience and it's usually not related to the topic we're talking about, and then we chat about it a little bit. So Jackie, what do we got for Ask the Moms?
Yes, so this one is kind of loaded, so we may just have to be a little brief with it and maybe can elaborate on it in a future episode. But the question is, I'm taking a last minute trip. What are the top priority things that I need to make sure are done before I leave for this trip? So this is not me, okay? We're talking about my over planning. But last minute trip, what are like top priority things that you need to make sure are done before you leave?
We're talking on the Disney side, not like in your home.
No,
right?
Yes, I would say on the Disney side, because like packing and all that kind of stuff are kind of those givens that like we have no control over. But I would say yes, on the Disney end of things, what are the things that you need to make sure are done before you leave?
Yeah, like check the big things are in place. And since I travel often, and sometimes I forget to book things because I'm like, I don't plan far in advance for everything. It's just me. Make sure that you have like your transportation to and from airports on both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you have your park ticket, your park reservation. Make sure they're in your app or accessible or linked to your Magic Band if you have a Magic Band. Make sure your hotel reservation is not canceled.
That's important. That is very important.
Or at least ready to like that it's all there. You can also check in online if it's a Disney World one. You can check in advance. It's not necessary to check in advance, but you can, and you can put some preferences about where you'd like to stay on some of those. Do you want to say a few? I'm talking a lot.
No, I think you hit most of what I would say. Just those big items, because pretty much anything else, if you're looking at Genie Plus or dining or the little extras, you can handle that like once you get there for the most
Yeah.
part if you're not super particular. But yeah, making sure your flight, your transportation, your hotel, and your tickets, like those are your big ones.
Yeah. And dining is something where you can, if you're already late in the game for dining, then it's like, you're more likely to maybe get some cancellations that,
Hmm.
within the 2 days before and 24 hours before, you might be able to catch a couple cancellations if you really want a dining reservation. Otherwise, I wouldn't stress out about it. I would just plan to eat quick service. That'll just be easier for you in
Yeah.
general, and you don't have to stress about it. And there's lots of great places to eat,
Yeah.
more so in Disneyland than Disney World. But
Right.
there's always options for quick service
Yeah.
where you don't have to make a reservation.
Yeah. And I would also include with that, if you're someone who typically plans like a year, 9 months, a year out, and you have like a typical planner that you use, we talked about planners earlier. We have a Mom Street one. I would still like read through the items on there to like help
Yeah.
make sure you've got everything too when it comes to packing, when it comes to booking reservations, whatever it may be. Even if you're not doing it in the time frame that's on that list, it's still something to consider doing. So I would still go through and read through a standard booking timeline and make sure that you have everything done through there too.
Yeah, and a packing list too is a good one, because I can't tell you how many times I've gotten there. I'm like, I forgot my sunscreen. I forgot that, I forgot my sunglasses, like the basic things. And I forgot like pain medicine this last trip, and I was like, it's expensive to buy pain medicine there.
My last trip, when literally the one that we just went on in November, I forgot all my pajamas.
Yeah, awesome.
I was like, cool. Luckily, like I
Great.
had clothes, you know what I mean? Like, so like we
Right.
could make it work. But I was like, I literally got there the first night. I was like, okay, I forgot my pajamas. And my husband was like, how? I was like, I don't know, okay?
But you packed them for your kids, I'm sure.
Yes, I did. And when I forgot my swimsuit, which I didn't end up needing because my kids were sick
That's a
anyway, and we
hard
didn't end
one.
up going swimming. But
Swimsuit's a tough one if you forget that.
Yeah.
It's like the year almost just done, or you have to go to Target or
Yeah.
something and like make it happen.
right. And I was like, well, I was like, that one I can deal without, because like even if they had gone swimming, I can just go sit on the edge, because that's usually what I do anyway. I'm not a huge swimmer anyway. But it was like, yeah, my swimsuit and my pajamas. I was like, well,
Awesome.
oh well.
And and you still had a great trip. So it's like you're not going to panic. But if you don't have your park reservations for Disney World are kind of changing soon. So but
But don't let that mislead you.
don't- yes, just make
Because-
sure you have everything you need and it's
Yeah.
all in place. And also, I would say also, if you're going to Disney World in particular, know your virtual queues for the days you're going. Make sure you're on top of the rides that you absolutely want to do for each day.
Mhm.
Even if you do this on the airplane on the way there, which I do that because I go often. But sketch out a general sketch of like what it is you want to do every day, even if it's written in your notes app on your phone. Just
Yep.
like have an idea of what you want to do, so that you're not you just like, oh gosh, we totally missed the boat. We
Right.
didn't wake up by 7. We didn't book the thing, and now we can't go on it.
Right.
So
I often will like, again, I'm just crazy. I plan things on spreadsheets, but then like sometimes I do transfer them to the notes app because they have the little checklist that you can check mark.
I love the checks. It's so satisfying.
I know. It's so satisfying. Then it like moves to the bottom of the list and I'm like, ha, done.
So great.
Yes.
I have a question from Ryan. Are there stores close to Walt Disney World property like Walmart and Target? And I don't have a car, so Jackie, you got to answer.
Yes. I became very well acquainted with the Walmart close to property on my last trip because I had to go there several times for medicine for my children because they were sick.
Kids.
Yes. But yes, there are, I mean, like 3 Walmarts within a 20-minute drive and at least 1 or 2 Targets too. So like, yes, plenty of things that you can either Uber or Lyft to. There's also like, if you're looking like grocery store specific, there are also like specific grocery stores and lots of things around. So yeah, definitely easy to either drive there or like, I think I even picked one of the ones that was further out that I went to because I was like, I need to get away from the crazy because it was Thanksgiving week. So like there were so many cars everywhere. And that one I think even still only took me 15 minutes to get to from our resort. So
Well, and I always do, like, because I don't have a car when I go to Disney, and I do, you can order groceries online. I do like the Amazon one. I don't remember what it's called. Prime Now, I think is what it's called. Amazon
Something like
Prime
that.
Now. And like you can order things that are not just like grocery items
Yes.
if you need like toiletries and things like that. You forget your toothbrush or whatever. So that I've done that. And then as long as it doesn't have alcohol in it, Bell Services can usually hold it for you, and you can get it when you come back to your resort. You can call and they'll give it to you there. They'll bring it up to your room. So
Yeah.
just make sure you tip them. So have some cash on hand
Yes.
for that.
Yes.
But that's handy.
Yeah, I always have to remind myself when I'm packing, because packing just stresses me out. I always have to remind myself that, again, if I forget something, there is a way that I can get it if it's something that I absolutely need. I just may have to go without for a few hours or whatever it may be, but I always have to remind myself that, which I feel like I must have reminded myself that too many times this last trip because I forgot so many things. Because I don't normally forget things, but it happens.
Yeah. Well, it's a crazy time of year. You went during Christmas time, so that'll do it. But I am a traditional overpacker, like chronic overpacker every single time. I'm like, I'm only going for like 2 days to Disneyland. I have 2 suitcases. I'm like, who am I? Like, it's crazy. But I found though, I enjoy my trip less if I don't want to wear the only things I brought to wear, and I'm like, don't have options. And then I get really stressed out. So I was like, I'm not going to do that to myself. I'm just going to pack what I need. So
Yes. So, moral of the story, even if you do a last minute trip,
yes,
it's going to be okay. You're still going to be able to do the majority of things that you want to do. And you were talking, I do just want to mention, you were talking about dining reservations. I was there the week of Thanksgiving, and like Topolino's Terrace, that morning time character meal is a hard reservation to get. There were like 6 available week of.
Yeah.
When
it pops open pretty a lot.
And when I had several like dining alerts set up, didn't get anything for the 6 weeks that I had set it up for. And then there were like 4 or 5 at least that I know for sure were like popped up while we were there. So,
there's a lot of people that hoard them,
Yeah.
They make a lot and they're like, we'll probably won't use all these, but we'll have them just in case. And though that's annoying, but it also is nice for how many usually open up the week of when you're, so it's great for last minute travelers because you're more likely to get a reservation with that.
Yes. So thank you to those of you who send us questions for Ask the Moms. If you have a question that you would like answered on our Ask the Moms segment, please send it our way. You can contact us via any of our social media accounts that we have. You can find us on our friend Kirk Walrus Carp, his Pocket Fam Discord. You can find us there. If you'd rather use email, we are momstreetusa@gmail.com. Any of those ways work. If you've got questions that you want to be included in Ask the Moms, or just general questions, we are more than happy to answer them.
Always. Yes. We love helping people plan more magical Disney vacations. And so we just appreciate all of you guys being with us as part of this Mom Street community. And it's not just us in this show. I think it's all of you guys too that have been joining us live, and also who send us in things as well to really just makes us show what it is. We are a community of people who love Disney, who want to help each other plan better vacations. So thank you guys for being here for that.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed our fun little Disney-fied resolutions and our bucket list items that we came up with. We'd love to hear more about your kind of resolutions and your bucket list items. If you want to chat with us on Discord, is probably the easiest way to do that. If that's something that you are willing to share with us, I'd love to hear what you guys are planning to do in 2024. As far as what we're planning to do in 2024, Kate and I met and kind of mapped out some ideas for what we have coming. Kate mentioned some Disney Cruise Line information coming your way. That'll be closer to like spring, summer time. But we're going to be talking about all sorts of different things. The next podcast episode that we do, I think, is a really good one. We're going to be talking about doing Disney parks with motion sickness and maybe other things that might affect your trip in that realm. So that's going to be one that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking in-depthly about ADRs, advanced dining reservations, coming up. We're going to have a whole series about those and doing those with kids. So lots of good stuff coming your way. And as always, if you have ideas or topics that you feel like need covered, please let us know.
Thank you, everybody, for being here, for being part of Mom Street USA, and for being with us in a new year. We're very excited for all the things that are going to happen this year, for you guys and for us, and for all the wonderful Disney things that are to come. So, Jackie, do you have any final thoughts as we wrap up here?
I think I said it all.
All right. Well, happy 2024, everybody, from Mom Street USA, and we will see you next time.
Have a great night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.